again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. It's great that you can join us. If it's your first time with us, then welcome. Thank you for joining us. And if you've watched episodes before, then it's great to have you back watching some more. The idea of this podcast is a very simple one. We simply want to share with you how Jesus can change lives. And what better way to do that than by having people to come on this podcast and to share how Jesus has worked and has changed their lives, and how it can change your life too. Don't forget, you can send in any questions that you might have, and we'll spend some time in a future episode answering those questions. And don't be shy, we can keep your questions anonymous if you want them to be that way. Once more, all that is left to do is to introduce myself. My name is James. I'm the host of these podcasts, and I'm a member at Crown Lane Free Methodist Church. And it's great today to be joined by and to be in conversation with Alan and Joanne. So, Alan and Joanne, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being with us today. If you could perhaps just give us a quick introduction of yourself, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, my name's Alan, and this is my wife Joanne, and we have one daughter, Caris. And it's great to be able to join with you today, James. We are also members of Crown Lane Free Methodist Church, and I'm the youngest of 5 siblings, so brought up in a big family, just right in the area, very close by to the church here in Woodland.
I'm Joanne, right to Alan, as he said, we have one daughter. I grew up mainly in the town area of Preston, and we've been married for nearly 25 years now. So we've been on different journeys through our married life, which we'll go into a bit more later. So yeah, good to be with you, James.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that. So, Alan and Joanne, if you could maybe start by sharing with us when you started following Jesus and why you took that step.
Well, for me, I think I would say that when I was a small child, I believed in God, and I heard the Bible stories, and I knew that God loved me. But then I guess after I was 9 years old, I think I started to think more seriously about what that meant. And as a teenager then, heard that Jesus loved me, that he had died for me, and I knew that I needed to be forgiven, and I wanted to have a relationship with him. So I asked Jesus to forgive me, and I believe that he did do that. I think over my teenage years, I found it difficult to follow him closely, and allowed myself really to be influenced by other people, and for a while didn't really walk closely with him. But then certainly in my late 20s, I remember a time of just really wanting to seek God, really knowing that I didn't any longer want to live in kind of two worlds, trying to be a Christian and trying to follow the crowd as well. And so in my late 20s was a time of real recommitment, where I knew what it was like to try and walk away from God a bit, or to live my own life kind of with him and kind of without him. And at that time, I knew that what I wanted more than anything was to follow him wholeheartedly, no matter what that meant, no matter where that would take me, whatever it would mean for my life. At that time, I wasn't married. I didn't know whether that was God's plan, and I'd had some years of seeking things outside of what maybe God wanted, but just what I wanted to fulfill my life. And I knew at that moment that it was all going to be about what God wanted from that time on. And so that really was the time where I feel like I had a full surrender to wanting to follow Jesus closely. But years before that, I knew that that was what I wanted to do. I just didn't make the strong enough stand at that time. So my Christian kind of dedication or commitment has been over a series of years and events, I think, until late 20s, when I really made a full surrender to wanting to follow Jesus closely.
I think for me, I can remember a specific date when I became a Christian. That was the 2nd of March 1980. So that makes me into an old man, I think. I was 12 years old at the time, and it was due really. I became a Christian because I just sensed a real need within myself, and I had a lot of fear and a lot of concern, particularly about dying and what death would mean. And I've been brought up in a Christian home, and so I knew the good news about Jesus, that he wanted to save us from our sin, and take us when we finish up with this life, wanted to take us to heaven to be with him. And so at that point, when I was 12 years old, I surrendered my life to the Lord Jesus Christ and asked him to take away my sin, forgive me for those wrong things that I'd said, that I'd done, that I'd thought, and asked him to come into my life. And so that was, 2nd of March, 1980, so 40 years ago.
So, the second question for you both is, when you made that commitment, when you started to follow Jesus, was there kind of an immediate change in your life, and how did being a follower of Jesus make a difference to you in your lives?
Okay. I would say yes to both of those questions, in the sense that there was an immediate difference, but there's also been an ongoing changing within my life, things that have changed for me. I think the immediate difference, as I just said earlier, that there was a lot of fear about dying and what death would hold for me. What's this life about, and what's after this life? So at the time that I surrendered my life to the Lord Jesus and received his salvation, I just had a real sense of peace, that all was well between me and God. And that just brought a real sense of peace within me. And so that was the instant difference, was that I just had peace and joy and kind of a hope for the future, instead of a fear of the future, a hope and a real certainty of what the future held for me. So that was the instant one. As far as the ongoing difference, just the difference that it's made, I think, is the sense of fulfillment, sense of purpose that being a Christian gives you, and that was very real for me, a real purpose of what this life was about, and that was to bring glory, to bring honour, to bring praise, if you will, to the Lord Jesus Christ, and to live for him. And so that was the difference. And I would say for over 40 years, that sense of purpose and fulfillment has never disappeared. In fact, it's got stronger and stronger as time has gone on. There's been a lot of changes. God had a lot of work to do in me, in my heart, in my mind, and in my life, to make me more like him. He still has a lot more work to do as well. But that was just, the difference was both instant and it's ongoing.
I think definitely initially there's a difference, that you feel a joy. But I think for me, the difference has come more gradually in many ways, especially going through a kind of a time of wandering away a bit, or not being so strong in my faith. But after making a deep commitment, there was just so much more of a peace and a realization, really, that it's not about what we do, and whether I'm going to be good enough, or whether I'm going to work hard enough, or whether I'm going to get enough or be enough, but just that it's about what he has done that can't be taken away. Jesus' death and all that he won with that, the victory that we have in that, it doesn't depend on me. So I think the reassurance of that it's not about how hard you strive that is going to make God love you more or make his salvation be fuller, but it's about he's done that for you. And so then everything in response to that is out of love for what he has done. So it's not that I've got to be a certain thing to gain his love. And I think that took a long time to dawn on me, really. I think I for a long time felt that it depended on me to make other people happy, and on me to make the peace and make sure everybody was okay, and to think that really we're not trying to strive to win God's favour, but that he has done that. So I don't know if I'm explaining it well, James, but just a feeling that he is in control, that what I do now is out of the fact, the love that he has poured out on me. That's what I want to be showing to other people. But then again, that is his work in me. And yes, there's a commitment from me to want to honour him, but kind of a release in that it's not about how good I am, it's about all that he has done. And so I think that realization brought more joy and peace. And just to know that eternity is secure. And I can get worried about things, you know, I'm not perfect and I still think, oh, this is what's going to happen here or whatever. But just deep down, there's a knowledge that he is in control of my life. And at different times, I think, you know, he goes deeper and deeper. So he's still making a difference. And I think, you know, experiences build faith. And seeing how he's worked in the past gives you the hope and the faith for the future. But I still feel like God is doing lots of work inside. But yeah, I think there's more compassion in there. There's a desire to love others because he loves us and he loves other people. And, you know, we're asked to serve him, but out of love for what he has done for us.
Thanks for that answers. So that was certainly in Alan's case, that was quite a long time ago now that you became a follower of Jesus. You know, has it always been plain sailing since then for you both?
We would both say no. I think there's been a lot of joys. I think we've been on a very interesting journey in our lives that we weren't expecting. I didn't ever think that I would be necessarily moving so many times as we've moved in our married life. And all of those come with their own challenges. I think, you know, Jesus in the Bible said to the disciples before he died that in this world you will have trouble, you know, but take heart, I've overcome the world. So I do strongly believe that as Christians, we're not exempt from things that go wrong. We're not exempt from the effects of sin and other people's actions and, you know, our own failings. And so plain sailing, no. There's been a number of difficulties, some in work life, some in family life, some in the kind of work that we've been involved in. But is God faithful? Yes, absolutely. Is our hope and our faith secure in who he is? Yes. And I think as part of Christian life and discipleship is trusting God when things aren't going or don't seem to be going well, trusting him when things don't work out as you thought they would. And just, I think we both would just testify to the fact that through all those difficulties, we've seen an opportunity for faith to grow. Even sometimes it's not until you look back that you think, oh, this is what God was probably wanting us to learn in that time. And this is how he's been challenging us and molding us. And, you know, really the purpose of Christian life is to become more like Jesus. And, you know, we're often very far from that in its ideal, but certainly in the times where there's been difficulties, we've just had to, you know, hold on in faith. And, you know, God has never let us down.
I think, I second what you say. No, it hasn't been easy. No, everything hasn't been plain sailing. But the reality is that the Christian life is fulfilling, is worthwhile, but it doesn't mean that it's easy, and it's not been easy. Living by biblical principles, living by biblical standards and values isn't easy. It can be challenging. You know, treating people in the right way, being willing to forgive people when people have hurt you or done something that's offended you, being willing to apologise when you've done something to offend somebody else and to ask for forgiveness. Those things aren't easy. Living with honesty and living with Joanne, that's the base. Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that. But being honest and transparent in your dealings, maybe in your business dealings, be straightforward and honourable in your business dealings. You know, sometimes it will be easier to not be, but the reality is that the Bible and God calls us to live in an honourable way, in an honest way, in an upright way. And so to do that sometimes is challenging. That's the reality. Sometimes in Christian life and in Christian service, dealing with people in the right way can be very challenging. So no, it's not been easy. Has it been worthwhile? Has it been fulfilling? Yes, but has it been easy? I would have to say no.
Super. Well, thank you for your answers so far. For everyone at home watching, you're in for a treat because this is a two-part episode. So we're going to bring this first episode to a close now. Do tune in on Wednesday at 6 o'clock for the second part of this interview, which I'm sure will be great. So thank you very much for watching this first episode, and we hope to see you again very soon in a few days.